Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to First Church of Religious Science here in New York City. Welcome to our Louise class, which, as you know, meets every Thursday at 7 p.m. We gather here in this sacred digital space, broadcasting again from First Church. Whether you're joining us for the first time, or from a neighboring street, or from the other side of the globe, you're welcome here. Whether you're tuning in through Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, know that you are not just a viewer, but you are an important part of our ever-expanding virtual community. We are, in fact, a hybrid community, meaning we have a studio audience, and our larger gathering now, several hundred people every week, is from all over the world. So this evening, we'll dive a little bit into the theme of wounds to wholeness. The idea of we're going to try to focus on healing the parts of ourselves that perhaps need healing. There was an author I used to be familiar with who said all of our battered places need to come to light. So whatever wounds there may be or things that are not healed, we come together knowing we can heal them. Louise was a part of this very church center. She was beloved by everyone, and she was part of our staff, and she passionately believed in the impact of thoughts and feelings on our physical well-being. As we go through tonight's lesson, let's honor her legacy by remembering the transformative power of self-healing. Louise often said, all healing is self-healing. For those who are new or returning, we want to extend a special welcome. All of our lessons, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday, are offered freely as a gift to our global family. If you feel moved to support our mission, there's always donation links in our chat rooms. So feel free if you'd like to. Every contribution, whatever size, ensures that these teachings and what we do can continue going forward to touch the lives and to help people in whatever way they need to be helped. It's safe to say the Louise classes are helpful to people facing just about any kind of challenge. So we'll go on with our lesson. After the lesson, we always open up the floor for personal sharing, where you have a chance to say hello if you want to, or what maybe demonstration you've had, or often we ask the question, what has it been like being you this week? So that'll be your time to share. So you can either speak or simply listen. Just know that your presence, even if you're listening, adds to the depth and meaning to our collective experience. So from the heart of First Church, a place where Louise called home, we welcome each and every one of you. I want to talk about self-healing as a subject. Louise believed in the transformative power of thoughts and feelings. You know, we can heal our lives, we can heal our bodies. She wrote the international bestseller, You Can Heal Your Life. She wrote a lot about how our attitudes and how our emotional states can impact our health. Most of us realize that anger and criticism are the damaging patterns, the most damaging patterns. And Louise will say that in most of her writings. There's others too, like regret, that can impact our health. Louise spoke of emotional states. We speak often of our thinking, but it's also our emotions that can impact our health. Here's some examples of emotional states and their potential impacts. First of all, it's important to know that there is a connection between your thoughts and your emotions and how they impact your health. Our emotional well-being doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It plays a real big role in determining our overall state of health. Louise and many others delved deeply into the subject, and she shed a lot of light on how our emotional states can manifest as physical ailments. Here's a few of the items that we all want to be watchful of. First of all is stress. That's an unavoidable aspect of life for most people. But when stress becomes a big problem, a chronic problem, it can wreak havoc on our health. So whatever you have to do. You want to get a handle on stress. Prolonged stress releases a constant stream of cortisol. That's a stress hormone that can cause, it can impact your immune system, it can cause you to gain weight, and it can accelerate all kinds of issues, aging, and things that we would be much better off if we found a way to minimize and decrease the stress. Another emotional state that we want to be watchful for is depression. More than just a feeling of sadness, clinical depression can bring about physical symptoms like fatigue, sleep disturbances, and it can even change your perception of pain. Long-term depression can also increase the risk of heart attack. So we're wanting to find a way to calm ourselves down, to take a pause, and to use some of the techniques, affirmations, meditation that we teach you in this class most every week. Another emotional state to be on the watch out for is anxiety. If you're living in a state of constant worry or unease, anxiety can cause physical problems. It could show up as stomach problems, muscle tension, headaches, and many other things due to a weakened immune response. Another emotional state that we don't talk about a great deal, but especially after the COVID years, loneliness. People are human beings, and when we experience chronic loneliness, it can lead to stress, elevated stress hormones, and it can also lead to increased blood pressure and more, speeding up the process too of cognitive decline sometimes. I know I have had friends who've stayed pretty much shut in after COVID, and they're experiencing some of this, so it's something to be mindful of. It's really helpful to join into groups like this on Thursdays, and we do another one on Wednesday. And if you're able to share. Certainly you don't have to, but we love to hear from you. Other emotions that are problematic for our health that I want to mention in the context of a self-healing class. Louise spoke often about having, if you have a sense of guilt, and guilt can be with you for years. And a similar emotional state is shame. These emotions make us evaluate ourselves critically, and they can be destructive if they persist. They may lead to heightened stress responses, they can impact the immune system, and they can lead to a host of other related issues. Another emotional state that some of you may be experiencing, which you'd want to try to get a handle on, is fear. Fear can activate our flight or fight response, increase our heart rate, and it can cause hypertension, and it even suppresses our body immune function if it's, if we are in a state of fear for long. Another emotional state, grief, and that's when people are dealing with profound sorrow from loss. That too can compromise our immune system over time and bring about disruptions in our normal functions like sleep and eating habits. Louise spoke a lot about resentments, and that's a big one for many of us because we have these, what the Course in Miracles talks about, ancient hurts, these things we hang on to, or Ernest Holmes would say we're carrying around a lot of corpses, dead wood. So ask yourself, it's a little bit of an inventory. Am I holding anything? Is there anybody I'm really angry at? Is there anyone I'm unwilling to forgive? Because all of that stuff shows up in your body sooner or later, and it can be an underlying cause of chronic illness and or disease. So these emotional states, as I mentioned, can have a slew of detrimental effects on your health. So things can be very harmful as a result of these emotional states, and we want to find a way to deal with them. Another one is rumination, and if you don't know what that word means, it's just dwelling repeatedly on the same thing over and over again, and not letting it go. I used to have some funny, or not funny, but sayings about that. But the thing is, if you keep hanging on to anger, it's obvious to most of us that the only person it's going to hurt is ourselves. So it can lead to insomnia. You can have digestive problems. It will affect your health, your heart, your circulation. So if you find yourself going over what we call old tapes over and over and over again, get up and move. Do something different. Pick up the phone. Call someone. Call a prayer partner. Call a friend. Call the center. Speak to somebody. Ultimately, you're going to do what you're going to do. But our suggestion is, we pull out, stop in the name of the love. As soon as you find yourself doing that, find a way to interrupt it. We talk about a train of causation because we know that life responds to us. We are cause to our own experience. So when we find that we're doing the old tape thing or we're blaming or any of that stuff, we have to find a way to stop it. So affirmations, releases, picking up the phone, journaling, physical movement. There's lots of things you can do, but it's important to get a handle on those conversations. Every Thursday I'll ask, what has it been like being you? And you all know I do it because I want everyone to understand that conversation that you're having with you, what I call the most important conversation of all, is it's playing in your life. It's being reflected in your life. So if you're ruminating on things, we want to find a way to stop it and replace any negative thoughts with positive ones. If you can't do it alone, if you're having a struggle with it, then find somebody to talk to. Find a professional or call the center. We'll do what we can. So there's an old AA or 12-step adage, which is a problem shared is a problem cut in half. And that's probably appropriate here because if you're stuck, there's nothing wrong with admitting that you're in a place where you need some help. So please reach out to us. Another word in terms of emotional states on our health, if you're somebody who's, raised in a family where, children were not to be heard, they're to be seen and not heard, and you've stuffed your emotions for most of your life, that stuff can wreak havoc on your body. So as we come into this teaching, we looked at people like Ralph Waldo Emerson and others who were like the early version of Madonna. And I say that in jest because Emerson was saying, express yourself. And God help us when a thinker is let loose upon the planet. Nothing is safe. It's really important that you find your voice. And maybe you've not found your voice. And, and you come into our teaching, you learn to find your voice, open up and share. We tell you here every week, the whole idea, God doesn't make junk. We tell you here in every class that you're important, you're valuable, you're more valuable than you could ever know, and you're one with this whole universe. You're one with the one, you're one with everybody, you're one with us. And Ernest Holmes would say you are an individualization of God life. So you're really something spectacular. Raymond Charles Barker would say you're the whole bit. So you may not feel that about yourself. I realize that, but it's the truth nonetheless. So if you keep coming back here every week, in some way, shape, or form or another, we're going to keep on reminding you of who you are and what you are, and of the power you have and the ability you have to change anything you want to change. So let's not suppress our emotions. Let's find safe ways to express them and safe people to speak to. Along the same lines, if you cut off all your social connections, and I know a lot of people have, sometimes it feels good to pull away, but that isn't the answer either. Isolation or lack of meaningful social interactions can trigger and intensify feelings of despair, loneliness, and anxiety. So keep plugging in with us. It's a good place to start. And this may not be the only place, but this is a good place to start. You can also listen to our lessons to encourage you 24 hours a day on YouTube and Facebook. So all of us want to heal our lives, so we want to have a path to have better emotional and physical well-being. Awareness always is the first step to healing anything. You can't be in denial about everything. It's essential to recognize and accept our emotional stress if we have it, and then understand the physical implications it could have if we don't do something about it. Incorporating self-love and self-care routines like affirmative prayer, meditation, and journaling can be very, very helpful. I also want to mention positive emotions can have such a beneficial impact on our health. I think some of you know that. So if you bring humor into your life and bring some positive emotions into your life, it can also do the opposite. It can improve, all different aspects of your body and your health. I'm throwing out as a question, how many of you have experienced some connection between your emotions and your physical health? And that's probably everybody. But think about it. Is there anything you can do? Maybe it's a little exercise. Maybe it's doing some affirmations. Any of the things we talked about. Being on the phone, calling the center, doing affirmative prayer work. What do you think you can do yourself to decrease the stress or any negative emotions that you might be entertaining? If you know somebody who's going through some of these things too, it's always a good idea to call and connect with them and do what you can. You never know how important some of those phone calls or actions are. Louise said all healing is self-healing. Most of us work like Louise did. We work with doctors, we work with our medical people, and other practitioners. We know that we have tremendous power available to us. So Louise believed in self-healing. She did a lot of her work with traditional doctors, but she also did alternative healing as well. So we seek out medical opinions. Oftentimes we get second opinions, but ultimately we are the ones who decide. We were learning here in this teaching to trust ourselves. There is that which is within you that has answers, that knows. And you are the only thinker in your mind, so we'll never take a position, don't see a doctor or anything like that. Some of the earlier groups, spiritual groups, were doing everything with faith healing. And Ernest Holmes was very clear that we're open at the top, and there's spirituality and medicine and doctors, and so we use doctors, but we also remember that we are the only thinker in our minds. So in the end, it's you to make your own decisions. Self-healing isn't about replacing traditional medicine. I want to say that again, because sometimes people think that we're teaching that. It isn't about replacing your doctors, but it's about taking charge of your own emotions, your own thoughts, your own feelings, and not deferring all your authority to others. So let's get into a little bit more of what Louise had to say. Louise was a big, big advocate of affirmations in our daily life. She emphasized the power that we have. That would be like Ernest Holmes, who said there's power for good in the universe and you can use it, and you're one with it. And I recall when I was younger reading about Benjamin Franklin. So when I first encountered Louise with her affirmations, it reminded me of Benjamin Franklin. Dating back to his time, he wrote in Poor Richard's Almanac, he advised readers to assume a virtue if you have it not. So he was making affirmations way back then. The concept of actively cultivating positive traits and mindsets through repeated affirmations has been the cornerstone of self-help. Franklin, in his own life, devised an actual system wherein he would focus on one virtue each week, deliberately practicing and affirming, embedding the idea into his character. So we talk about affirmations, they get more powerful as they build up in consciousness and they have a tendency to demonstrate. Well, that goes right back to the 1700s. This early approach resonates with Louise Hay's teaching as well, which further refined and highlighted the transformative power of affirmations. She not only championed their use for personal growth, but also for healing, integrating them into the broader practice of affirmative prayer. By merging historical wisdom with contemporary understanding, affirmations have evolved as very powerful tools for manifesting positive change in both the mind and the body. Affirmations can be very powerful, and affirmative prayer can even be more powerful. The thing is, you do it, as you say them, you find the ones that work the best for you, and you say them, and you bring yourself to a point where you can feel them and touch them and know the truth of them. And what the mind can see and believe it will achieve. Life will respond to you if you say it and you connect with it and you really believe it. Many people, or most people, that Louise Hay worked with suffered from feelings of inadequacy or self-doubt. She was saying, if you get underneath most people's problems, and she said she spoke to a lot of people, it really boils down to most people don't feel okay, they don't feel good enough, they don't feel like their life has gone the way they wanted it to, they have a lot of regrets. And she would suggest folks just do not love themselves enough, they don't accept themselves enough, and they have a lot of this painful stuff that goes on and on. And she believed that, in releasing all this stuff and replacing these negative states of consciousness using affirmations, it's a powerful tool to turn a lot of these negative beliefs around. I put together this evening for this class a little list of challenges people often face. I'll say them out loud. And I have some affirmations to go with them that can counter them. So you won't have all of them. You may have few of them. You may remember having them. So here's some common problems. There's this whole problem with low self-esteem. And you can just check it off to see if it sounds like you, and then I'll give you the affirmations after I read them. If you feel like you aren't good enough for someone or something, or if you find yourself comparing yourself to someone, your family, your loved one, that's an issue. And as a result, oftentimes, if you don't feel like you're adequate, you avoid challenges because you fear that you won't succeed. So that's something. Do you have a sense of low self-esteem? Do you feel like your life hasn't been good enough, or you're not good enough? Do you compare yourself? There's another one, perfectionism. Do you believe that anything less than being perfect is unacceptable? Are you one of these folks that you can't be satisfied with what you're doing? You always think that what you're doing is not enough. It's a yes or no, or notice if anything comes up for you. There's another state of consciousness where you don't feel like you deserve the good that you have, and that's called an imposter syndrome, where you feel like even despite all your accomplishments, you don't feel like you deserve them. Does that sound like you? Do you feel you got your successes by accident or something like that, or you don't deserve them? Another problem area for many people, do you have difficulty setting boundaries? I know many of us grew up in families that were chaotic, and some people say a little bit dysfunctional. And are you one of these folks who overextend yourself in your relationships over and over again for your family members? Do you do this at your own expense? Are you always stuffing your needs and your dreams? And are you having a tough time setting boundaries in those types of situations? Could you learn how to take better care of yourself in those areas? That could involve people who are attracted to like the Al-Anon program or CODA or any of these programs where maybe you're not taking good enough care of yourself yet, and maybe you want to learn to. Another challenging area for some people is if you have a great reluctance to express yourself. I already touched on that before, where if they really knew you, you think, oh, they won't like me, or you're fearful of being vulnerable. If you say what you really think, there's a fear that you won't be approved of, or you will be rejected. Another challenge, and I have affirmations to turn these states of consciousness around, would be, and I'll read them in a moment, procrastination. Recently, I've been in a place where I hear the word mañana all the time. I hear it all the time. So do you have an issue with procrastination? Meaning, you just don't do things when you say you're going to do them. You're delaying tasks till tomorrow. We won't do the business tonight, we'll do it tomorrow and tomorrow. So is procrastination one of your issues where you delay tasks and your responsibilities? Another, fear of rejection. Maybe you avoid relationships and close friendships. I know I've been talking to some people who've called me around that subject, because you say it's easier just not to be involved with people. And I can relate to what you mean by that. So if you have a fear of rejection and you find that you're avoiding relationships or opportunities, jobs, just closer connections with people, because you have an inner belief somehow or another it's not going to last, they're going to reject you or something like that. And that can be directly tied into the next state of consciousness. Just check it out. And again, I have affirmations for all of these. Is there some part of your being where you don't feel that you're worthy, or you don't feel that you're lovable? And do you have like this inner contempt for yourself, or this inner dialogue that just doesn't, you're just not happy with yourself. You're not happy with how you act or how you behave. Your conversation with yourself is, you feel too negative. Does any of that sound true to you? And is there any belief in you that you're not worthy of love and connection? Because Louise, she always says, I love myself the way I am, so there's nothing I need to change. So that question I throw out, on some level, in some way, does anything come up for you along the lines that I don't feel really adequate, worthy of love or true connection with other people? If that's true, just make mental note of these things for yourself. None of this is done to make you feel bad. It's just to help become aware. When you become aware, you can do great things. The next one is, do you oftentimes feel overwhelmed? Right? Do you feel like, my God, I can't do all this stuff? Do you feel like you're incapable of handling life's challenges? Maybe you've got 3 kids, you've got complications, and you're having a tough time just taking care of all your responsibilities. Does it all seem too much for you? If you say yes to this one, there's a lot of people saying yes to this one. These are very challenging times. There's a lot going on in the world, and you're doing the best you can, but sometimes it seems too much. So do you feel just totally overwhelmed at times? So those are some questions for our little self-assessment part today. And I did put the affirmations together. Keep in mind, you can create your own affirmations that are probably better than mine. But I wanted to give an affirmation for each of the states that I brought up, states of consciousness. If you're dealing with low self-esteem, you got to understand this is about you. So a great affirmation, and some of these are good to do in front of a mirror, where you can connect with your eyes, and, give yourself a blast of love. An affirmation would be, I'm worthy of love, respect, and kindness. That's a simple one. Or you could say, I love myself, comma, I am worthy of love, respect, and kindness. And if that one relates to you, take it and use it, or create one of your own. And that's to deal with low self-esteem. Give yourself a smile if you can. Look in the mirrors and say, I'm worthy of love, respect, and kindness. And always throw in there, if you can, I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. Now, for those of you who are dealing with this whole concept, I'm a failure, I'm going to fail, I won't make it, I can't make it. There's an affirmation. Every single experience is an opportunity to learn and grow. So you might say to yourself, every single experience is an opportunity to learn and grow. Or you could say, if you've gone through a lot of failure or things that haven't worked out, you can say, I've learned and I continue to learn with every single encounter that I have. You know, you want to find the way within yourself to turn your thoughts of failure around. I would say I'm becoming more and more in every way and every day. So for those of us who tend to be a little bit of perfectionists, where you're never quite satisfied with what you are, and who you are, and what you do, the affirmation that I wrote up is, I am enough. I am enough just the way I am. I am perfection. No, I am whole and complete. Perfection is an illusion, okay? Or you could say I'm perfectly imperfect. You know, but the idea is I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. I'm enough just the way I am. See, there's nobody judging us, the point behind this, ever except ourselves. We're the whole bit that Raymond Charles Barker would talk about. So we really want to bring ourselves to a place where we love, accept, and approve of ourselves exactly as we are. I want to next move on to those of you who feel undeserving, or what's called the imposter syndrome, where you don't feel that, what you've done and who you are is enough. Your success, you think, was a mistake. For those of you who have those types of thoughts and that type of thinking, you might affirm to yourself, I trust in my abilities and I acknowledge my achievements. Again, I trust in my abilities and I acknowledge my achievements. And you can always follow if I love myself the way I am. And then as we move into the group of people, and that could be a lot of us who have had issues with setting boundaries throughout our life. It's okay. Here's the affirmation. It's okay to say no. My well-being is a priority. Again, this is for people who have been in every type of situation where retrospectively you would have liked to have said no sooner, and you want to go forward. You want to love yourself enough to put some boundaries up. Here's an affirmation for you. It's okay to say no. You said it to yourself. Look in the mirror. It's okay to say no. My well-being is a priority, or ideally is the priority, because we know we can't help other people until we're at a place where we first are loving ourselves. Many of us were raised to do the opposite. We're going to go love the world and we'll take care of ourselves later. In this teaching, we understand, and Louise was very clear, all healing is self-healing, and it begins with us, okay? The next affirmation is for people to help them express their feelings. And here it is. My feelings are valid. I am valuable, and I have the right to express them. So if you feel your voice has been squashed too long and too often, the affirmation for you, or something you might try on, my feelings are valid, and I have the right to express them, or some version of that type of thought. And if you're one of the procrastinators in the world, and you find you procrastinate often, here's one for you. And it is, I have the power to accomplish what I set my mind to. I know it is true. And again, I have the power to accomplish what I set my mind to. And I know it is true. And we'll move on to those who just have a tough time finding their voice because they feel rejection from family, friends, loved ones, girlfriends, boyfriends. Rejection is a part of life, not a reflection of my worth. And here it is again. Rejection is a part of life, comma, not a reflection of my worth. Okay? And we move on to any of us who feel unlovable, rejected. This is one you've heard before. I'm deserving of love. I'm deserving of love and connection. I love myself. I accept myself. I am improving. I'm improving myself. I love, accept, and approve of myself is the one I've been using for 3 or 4 decades. Next, for anyone feeling overwhelmed, and that could be many people during these times that we're going through right now, I take things one step at a time, and I can handle whatever comes my way. I am supplied and supported. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, you might try this one on. I take things one step at a time, and I can handle what comes my way. I am supplied and supported. These affirmations are designed to challenge and replace the negative thoughts, to help you create a foundation for positive self-perception and resilience when challenges come up. You may choose ones that you can relate to better, and it's really always better if you choose your own. Mine were just some ideas for you to work with. Use the affirmations that work for you. You use them to counter whatever negative thought pattern or emotion comes up. In the sharing, maybe you can share what your personal affirmation is, what's most powerful for you. We often saddle ourselves with blame and shame, and those are really those are things that won't take us anywhere either. So if you find yourself pointing any fingers at anyone, you all have heard me say so many times, stop using the word should, and I do my best to catch myself wherever I use it as well. Because wherever I'm doing it, I'm basically saying something I'm doing or have done is not good enough, or I'm extending that judgment towards somebody else. So let's release the blame, let's release the shoulds, let's realize that everyone is evolving and doing the best they can with what they know. We do this from our early childhood experiences. Our belief systems, we got it from the time we're children, most people think, from a young age. Many of us were conditioned by our families, society, influential people in our life. And part of that, we thought our worth was dependent upon how we acted, or whether we got approvals of other people. And when we don't meet these standards that have been with us for a long time, we resort to shame or blame. Children are like little sponges. They absorb everything, the positive, love from their environment, and they also absorb the criticism, the judgments, and the negative beliefs. And when these negative beliefs are internalized, they often become the core beliefs that we all have as adults. So we're still dealing with our childhoods sometimes. We might still believe deep down that we're not good enough, adequate, unlovable, or we might be flawed in some way based on those early experiences. And as we get a little bit older, these patterns can even become more ingrained. So we work here every week in spotting them and releasing them and changing them around. So there's no blame or shame. In our lessons, it's important to realize that these patterns, blame, shame, judgment, aren't inherent parts of who we are. They're all learned behaviors and beliefs. And just as they were learned once upon a time, they can be unlearned. So we come together and we become aware through self-awareness, through self-love, and the power of these positive affirmations. We can release these things that have chained us and bound us, so we can become more loving and loving to ourselves and loving to others. Louise believed that holding on to resentment, anger, blame, anything towards ourselves or really towards others will always act as a barrier to true healing and well-being. She was also always emphasizing that we do the best we can, all of us, with the consciousness we have at any given point in time. It's okay to make mistakes while we're learning, but we don't want to be holding grudges or regrets. Louise said that beating ourselves up more and more, it won't take us any place we want to go. So it's essential to practice self-acceptance and self-approval. In her view, every single experience, every mistake offers valuable lessons and opportunities for our growth. She might say, if she were with us, forgiving yourself is as vital as forgiving others. Let go of the past, release the burdens of regret, and open up yourself to the healing power of love and self-acceptance. So, she believed that loving and accepting oneself is the foundation for healing and all positive change. She always spoke about that negative self-talk that we speak about every Thursday, to become aware of it and to change it around. My favorite, and I said it twice tonight already, the affirmation: keep saying to yourself, I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. Look into the mirror and say it, and as you start to believe it and start breaking down, it'll start breaking down internal barriers and create space for growth, healing, and transformation. Everybody on this call is unique, wonderful, whole, an inlet and outlet of God activity, the whole bit that Raymond Charles Barker talked about. So we want to accept ourselves, love ourselves, flaws and all, and as we do, we're going to go forward. We're about ready for us to turn the call over to you, for everyone to share your thoughts on some of these subjects of healing, our emotions, our thoughts. A time where you can share what your inner conversation is. You know, every week I ask you, what has it been like being you? But before we do this, I'd like to do an affirmative prayer for this evening. It's an important moment. We recognize and honor the divine intelligence that is within us. As we stand at the end of our journey together, we're filled with deep gratitude for the healing, for the growth, and for the transformations that we're all that we all have experienced and are taking place. We affirm now that every heart here is one with love, one with intelligence, knowing that we have the innate power to heal emotions and dispel negative thinking. As we've come together this evening once more, we've learned, we've grown, we've evolved, and we're allowing the essence of our beings to shine. We lovingly release remnants of pain, doubt, limitation, and we trust completely that the universe supports our highest good. We affirm that our minds are clear, our hearts are open, and our spirits are lifted. We carry with us the wisdom, the strength, and the love that we have cultivated here, that we have been reminded of. May our every word, thought, and action reflect our healed selves, and may we continue to be beacons of light, sharing the love that we have everywhere we go. And so it is. So now it's my pleasure, as always, to turn the call over to you and hear. Usually I like to know, I ask the question what it's been like, because I'm inviting people to be more mindful of the conversation that they're nurturing, if they're ruminating anything, and if they're turning the positive thoughts around, if you're doing the work. And all of us on this call, as I listen week by week, are doing a lot of good work. So we're really looking forward to hearing from you. If you're new, simply say hello. So thank you. We'll see you at the other side of the break.